We are live. All right, so let's go ahead and start over here. Most definitely want to apologize out there, everybody.
Yeah,
If you are jumping back on, thank you. People are just getting on right now for the first time. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties as we started the beginning of the podcast. So we're going to go ahead and give it another shot. We'll start off again. I'm Cool C, the one, and I got my man Dan in the house.
here.
This is Soapbox Sundays. We like to talk about news that happened in our city over the last week, as well as we update on COVID. And before we get into any of that, I'm sorry, we get into any of that, I want to introduce who we are and how you can get in touch with us, Dan.
All right, we are Data Protection Service. We provide a variety of security services. You can reach us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service, or you can reach us on our phone number at 1-800-951-4866. That's 1-800-951-4866. And before we were cut off, like I said last time, if you are reaching out to us for service, please give us a fair amount of notice for any jobs that you may have. 30 minutes is not good enough. So we kind of need a little bit of ahead time so we can figure out where we're going and what we're doing.
Right. And like before, just to add on to that, we're a real security company. We want to be able to come out and assess the event. We want to come up with a game plan for any type of emergencies and things of that nature. So we do need a little bit of time, folks. We want to make sure that when we come out, uh, we have a smooth transition. If for some reason it's not smooth, we've got a smooth reaction plan already set in place. So what we got going on today, Dan? How you think those Lions gonna do this season?
Um, I expect him to keep losing like they've been doing. They managed to pull off another loss today.
Yeah, but they lost different this time. They started losing in the first half and just kept on losing. So
Right.
they switched it up this time.
Yeah, the Lions kind of like if I could compare them to stocks, like it's kind of like when you bet on the stocks to fall. That's kind of what we do with the Lions. You can almost always bet on them to lose. You'll probably win a lot of money that way.
Man, and it's tough, man, because the offense is really, seem to have some great weapons, but they just
Hmm.
can't seem to pull it off in the lighter part of the game typically, and they typically make a lot of mistakes, and those end up costing them the game. But we could talk about the Lions all day. For those of you that join us again, sorry if we're bringing that pain back up again for you, but hey,
Hey man, if you in Detroit and you ain't picked another team, shame on you. You should have an alternate team that you run with, so
right.
you're not suffering every weekend like I used to.
Oh man, and you know what? I got to be honest with you, because any and everybody know me. I'm a huge Steelers fan, and been one. I don't want to tell people how long it's been, but just know that it was when they had a guy named Terry Bradshaw throwing to guys like Starworth and Swan,
Hmm.
and running out of the backfield was a dude by the name of Harris. So, long time fan. But hey, man, we like I said, we can talk about that all day. Let's go over those COVID numbers, because we start every podcast off updating the COVID-19 numbers, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it is October the 4th.
Hmm.
Year's
So
almost over.
yeah, we in the fourth quarter. So
Absolutely.
uh, let's push forward the right way. So with COVID, we saw a significant increase this week. A little bit over 11,000 new cases confirmed. Um, we saw 68. We got a total of 6,800 deaths. It was 248 deaths during the week, and our daily death rate decreased from 15 down to 13 during the week. But we saw daily confirmed cases go from 483 to over 1,100 during this week. So we saw a significant uptick in cases, while we also saw things opening up, and we saw that, the state allowing people to do a little bit more than usual than what we've been able to do in the way we've been able to gather. So we got a uphill battle still ahead of us from what I can see out of these numbers. We just saw New York closing things back down. Uh, they are closing some non-essential businesses and some other things in New York. So we may not be too far behind that. So they had schools open too in New York. New York is shutting back down. So if we
Wow.
continue to see those numbers, I can almost guarantee we might have that same kind of shutdown occur again in Michigan, even though people are pushing back against the governor's authority to do so.
Right. And we know this virus is real. The the we've talked about it in the past, knowing people personally who've been sick from it.
Mhm.
Um, we got to take it serious. I just feel like we say it every week, but we really have to take it serious. We have to limit our activities, unfortunately, because and we kind of got on this topic a little more in detail before we got cut off earlier. There's a lot of people who still don't believe it for whatever reason, or just choose to not listen to the recommendations by the government here in Michigan and just across the country. We see, every state is different. You can go to Texas and it's business as usual. You go down to Florida, the same thing. And New York and Michigan, I just remember being states who really were trying to be conservative and be as safe as possible. People fought and fought against it. And now these same states are the ones that are seeing the upticks, as well as in those other places who just never took it serious. They continue to have high numbers. And I guess for me, without getting into too many details, we have our current president who has tested positive for it. And we know that they weren't taking it serious,
Right.
or at least it appeared that they weren't taking it serious. As recently as last weekend, having a party, there wasn't any social distancing. People did not have on masks, and quite a few people from that party, last count I recall was at least 5 people that were at that party that now have contracted it, and that's including the president and first lady. So it's serious. You
Yeah.
know, now people are saying, have you heard some of the theories that are out there? People are saying uh,
Yeah.
part of this positive test is a ploy to
Hmm.
distract, number one, number two, to prove a point, and number three, help push for a almost guaranteed another term if you solve this problem during your time in office and come up with a cure, because now you're cured and better. That's one thing out there on the table. But again, I know people personally that have it. I don't want to get into is it real or not, because I've seen real situations. I've seen people on ventilators. I've been fortunate to see some come off, but we know some
Right.
did. So it's real, at least in my community, it is.
So I saw a lot of the theories out there. Uh,
What you think?
I think you know, I think it's possible. As with all conspiracy theories, therein lies some form of truth within any of them. But it's hard to tell with this president and this administration when you get a lot of misinformation coming out of the White House. It's kind of hard to trust, when they telling the truth and when they not. So we'll see as time go on. They had a video come out and had him sitting up signing blank pieces of paper uh, to show that he was, strong and working or whatever the case may be. They went in heavy, heavy, heavy on him on Twitter about that particular incident that went on with that situation, and people were like going into the the um, the pictures and pulling timestamps out and pulling all kinds of information out of the picture itself. And people was looking at the sunlight and talking about what time it was. It was just, Twitter is just a place of much information and much entertainment
And I said this
for
earlier,
consumers.
I said it in the production meeting earlier. I feel like we are watching a movie unfold in our actual lives. And I got to be honest, I'm very, very scared for the ending of this movie.
Yeah.
While we're talking about, the COVID and the president, during the debates, there were most definitely some things that had people kind of upset and wanting to get clarification because they didn't feel like they got it during the debates. And
Mm-hmm.
ironically, again, the news came out about the positive test. It couldn't really get those responses. But something that has been floating around on the internet is some of these supremacy groups are vowing to win or lose, they're ready to do whatever the president says they need to do. And for me, it's scary times because when you have people, whether the current president has given them a green light, they say that he gave a wink of the eye and a tug of the ear kind of, you know, subliminal message to them that, hey, this is okay in my administration for you to proceed with violence. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the last thing we need while we're going through a pandemic is
Right.
unnecessary violence. And when we were on here earlier, before we got disconnected, if you could remind me of that question so I could
So
finish off talking about that as well,
we
because
was
I'm just
kind
really
of
concerned.
discussing uh, just the politics of wearing a mask and businesses shutting down and things of that nature. And I was asking you, what was your thoughts on how did you think it was political in nature that people's pushback against these things that's being put in place to kind of prevent the spread from taking place?
Exactly. So, and thanks for re-asking that question. So to answer that, as I was saying, with some of these supremacy groups that have, come out on social media talking about their plans. Um, I was at a grocery store this morning, and it was right around noon. I was trying to get my grocery shopping done so that I can come back and see if the Lions were going to do what they always do. I do watch other teams on Sunday, but I'm always giving the Lions a little bit of attention, expecting a certain outcome. But as I was in the store, and it actually something that I hadn't experienced since the pandemic, but I wasn't surprised because it is the first of the month, and usually that's when people do the majority of their shopping, that weekend of the first of the month, especially. And they announced on the PA system that the store was at capacity and that customers were going to need to exit out of a particular entrance of the store, and they were going to divert people coming in through a particular entrance. So they were going to try to flow the store as best as possible and get people moving up and down the aisles as they've assigned, for people to only be going in one direction to try to keep some type of distancing. And people were irate. The gentleman yelled out, "You're not going to tell me which way I can leave. I'll leave whichever way I want." And I'm thinking, first of all, you're about 8 deep in this line. By the time you leave, probably won't be that busy. So, and why you felt the need to shout that out at the top of your lungs was interesting to me. And I thought to myself, man, there's a, a lot of people who feel that their rights are being violated by having these precautions. And I think it's not even, I talked a little bit about his religion behind it, yes, and I'll reiterate that in a moment. But I really want to say that I think it's just privilege. I think that people feel like you can't tell me what to do. How dare you? Not thinking about the safety part of it. I think people who are used to doing what they want to do the majority of the time, and that's usually people who are in some cases, a little more well off than others.
Hmm.
Uh, and I say most cases, you know, people who are complaining about not being able to go on vacation since the COVID. Hell, I know people that's been working so hard for the last 10, 15 years, they ain't been on a vacation because they can't afford it. Not saying that that's right. I think you got to figure out somehow to do that at all chances. But anyway, my point being that I felt like the people who are doing the most pushing back right now are people who are used to being able to do just about whatever they want. And of course, this is America and it's the land of the free. But I think that it's almost they don't want to follow the lead because somebody else told them to,
Mm.
not having any other rationale behind it except for you told me I had to do it, so I don't want to do it.
Mm.
It's almost like 2 year olds. If I could put it to you bluntly, I think it's a bunch of people acting like 2 year olds because there's a mandate. I don't want to do it because we thought at first, or I won't say thought. Typically, what we see is people who are supporting our current administration, i.e., the Republicans, are typically the ones who don't seem to want to follow the rule. And then I also think for religious reasons, I think they're trying to use that as a basis as to this being a hoax and you'll be okay.
What you mean religion?
Christianity.
How?
Well, I'll try to explain it the way I've seen it tried to be explained by people who feel that way.
Okay, because I ain't heard this one. Help me out.
Yeah. So people there on the Republican side of the fence, a lot of Republicans are saying that look, our president, as well as IE ourselves, don't agree with number one, as I said, being told what to do and when to do it. So that's part of the defiance. But they're also believing that in order for, if you're a true Christian, you know that this is not something that you need to worry about. True
That ain't-
Christianity will save you. And we all know it's like, wow, really? Well, now the president has it, and at least 5 or 6 other people that attended the party that he was in, as I mentioned earlier. And I will question that at this point. Now, do you think that it's a hoax?
I
So,
mean, how much do we really want to question modern medicine? Like I know we've had issues in the past with the Tuskegee experiment, and you got people who don't who believe that um, vaccines are bad. You got an entire group of people that think vaccines are bad. Um, but we have vaccines that have like eradicated diseases. So where do we find that fine line, and how do we get through all of the propaganda that's out there and the fake media that's out there compared to what's really true? I guess in this day and age, it's almost as if we got too much information. Like we on information overload, and we don't know what we can and can't take in as true.
right. And the skepticism, like you said, against the government at this time. I've
Hmm.
heard people even say that I won't take a vaccine when one is approved.
Hmm.
I don't want to take a COVID test because you're going to use my DNA for something else. I don't, and I say that not me personally saying that, but those are the type of things that I'm hearing that are concerns out there. And like
Hmm.
you said, with some of our history in this country, that our government has some of the things that they've done that have been a negative effect,
Hmm.
people remember those. It's kind of like right now, people seem to be able to remember every word that the president said in regards to not wearing a mask and how dumb people looked wearing a mask. And I say that to be sarcastic because he literally said that the former vice president, Joe Biden, was a fool for always wearing a mask. Every time you see him, he's got on a mask. So no matter whether it's a hoax or not, as I said, it's almost like watching a movie unfold the way things are being so ironic. You know, you mock wearing a mask and you get the COVID. You get the COVID and the Joe Biden and his team say, hey, no more negative ads right now. Let's life is more important. And you say F that figuratively, and you continue on with negative ads on your side of the fence. So it's just it's really interesting the way things are unfolding, and I could see how people could really
Let's
feel the
talk.
way they feel.
Let's talk about that. So the Democratic Party is, in many people's eyes, is soft as hell. They always want to try to take the high road and do the right thing. Um, Man, I would have kept slamming his ass if I was them, because that's the kind of business they in. Like, they not in a high road kind of business to me. So, and especially you trying to win an election and you trying to go about to get something accomplished, who cares if he in the hospital sick? You keep running them ass into the ground if you're trying to win. You're not trying to win a moral race, you're trying to win a presidential race. So I think it's a certain, I guess, approach that they should take, but knowing them, they'll take the wrong approach and they'll end up losing, trying to be soft on him because he in a hospital or whatever. I got to see the test results. You can't just tell me he's sick. I need to see the results. I need to see him get swabbed. I need to see them take the swab to the test machine. I need to see the test machine say that he's positive. And it might be a little bit too far, but it ain't as far as Dave Chappelle wanting to see R. Kelly peeing on somebody with his grandma standing in the living room. So I think it's somewhat reasonable for what I'm saying.
And for those of you who don't know, talking about a skit from Will Chappelle, that's a classic. As far as needing proof, I get
Right.
it, and that's a great point you bring up. And again, when we talk about how the Democrats come across as soft and want to not offend.
And
You
I
know,
will say that
great point. You're bringing it
I
right to a gunfight.
I appreciate the Republicans for their relentless uh, track record of just being consistent with how they move and making sure they get done what they need to get done. That I respect that.
Right. So very interesting, man. We could talk about that all day. Any comments or questions in the chat room on this topic?
No, they saying this other Democrats running ass, which I agree. There's other ass being ran, but you know I I don't think taking a soft approach is the right way to go. If I was running it, I know I wouldn't, but that I'm not running it, and that's for good reason.
Exactly. I most definitely will continue to say get out there and vote. If you're doing it by mail in or however you choose to do it this election year, get out there and make your vote count. And when we say that, as we talked about last week, and we'll kind of talk about that very brief, for people who say, well, I'm not voting because they're both evil and whatnot. You know what? And it sounds crazy, but just go out there. You know what? If you're not going to vote for them, can you vote for me? Can you vote for my teenage son? Can you vote for my partner over here who um, has to be out here in our society? Can you vote for your friends and your family and whatever that vote is? You know, do it because so many people have suffered to afford us this opportunity.
Man, people need to know why they vote. They need to know why they voting and how these votes affect them. And they also need to know, and they need to pay attention to. Um, and I had a brief conversation with this, and I wanted to kind of get into voter suppression later today, but like a little bit in a couple of weeks. Um, in 2016, not only did you have Russia running operations against the US, but the Trump campaign was running operations against Black people in particular in poor neighborhoods through Cambridge Analytica on Facebook in particular, because they could target well, you run ads on Facebook, you can target particular segments of a population by race, location, how much money they make, and they figured out who would be likely or unlikely to vote, and they ran a dissuasion campaign to get people to not vote in 2016 with catchphrases such as the lesser of two evils or they one and the same. A lot of Black people were targeted in that campaign and don't know that they were targeted in that campaign. And they walking around or they online saying shit about lesser of two evils and all these other little phrases that they got from Russian propaganda or from the Trump campaign itself, because you didn't take the time to look into the candidate that was running. And you didn't take the time to figure out where the information was coming from that you was reposted that was false or that, that wasn't true. And now you took a lie and you spread a lie regarding whoever, the candidates were, and you ended up not voting, which was the purpose of the whole campaign in itself. So that's why I've been big, at least a lot this year. Pay attention to where you're getting information from. Go and look and see where it came from. A lot of these times, this stuff might look real. It might look like a real news organization, and it's fake as hell. So when you hear the president talking about fake news, it goes kind of both ways. It's not just liberal fake news. It could be conservative fake news, and you need to pay attention to what's going on. And I think we get too caught up in what's funny or what's entertaining and not looking at what the true issue is and where stuff is coming from. I see a bunch of people spreading a bunch of lies all the time, and y'all got to keep that in check.
Man, that's a great point.
And then, like, you don't know, you just got, victimized by the Trump campaign and by Russia and Cambridge Analytica. They picked you because they knew you were likely to bite, and take the bait and not go to the polls because, their objective is to get you to not vote. And now you're believing the bullshit that your vote don't count or that the government already know who the president gonna be. So, and the president is already picked and all these other bullshit conspiracy theories that people believe. And then you walking off and you telling people and having these conversations about it with other people who believe the same shit that you spread. And I'm 100% on my soapbox right now.
Absolutely.
And I kind of wanted to talk about this later, but man, y'all got to check what you're looking at and check what you're reading and check the source of where stuff coming from, because a bunch of people got victimized into not voting in 2016, and they succeeded in taking the White House because of that. They succeeded in putting a bunch of judges in place that don't have your best interests at heart if you find yourself in front of that judge. And they succeeded in putting people on the Supreme Court that could overturn some things that you've been living under for most of us our whole lives. Right. So my thing is pay attention to where stuff coming from, pay attention to what you're sharing and the information that you're putting out here. It's important that you are talking about facts when you're putting stuff out. I'm off my soapbox now.
Hey, but thank you for that. And as we said, for those of you that were here at the beginning, I said every week, our goal is to educate, give you another perspective on something. And if you can't take what my brother here, Dan, just said, and think about that, just think about that, and how deep that thought that he just shared, or not thought, the information he just shared in regards to how we get led astray so many times. And like I said, we've all heard people say, and again, not putting anybody on blast, we've heard people say, I'm not voting because I don't like either one of them. And when you say, well, what is it about this one that you don't like, or even about the current president? What is it about him that you don't like? And you can't constructively answer that, then shame on you. Great point you bring up with that. That's really deep, and hopefully that information, you can think about it, because it happens in other ways too. And the one that blares the biggest, that we've been hearing for the longest time, is black on black crime. We hear that all the time in our community. And yes, we need to make changes in our community, but know that, like he said, there is a narrative out there that pushes that, and they highlight crime and they talk about all of these shootings and things that only happen in our community and give us even more false sense of what's going on out there in general. So great point that
Love you.
was brought up there,
All right.
doing
My niece is leaving.
some goodbyes there. Hey, we
Yeah.
live. That's what we do. But as I was
My
saying,
niece is
just
out.
some things to think about because I seen something on the internet, and then you can probably relate to it. And if I'm not mistaken, it said 5 things that you need to stop doing.
Hmm.
And if you could just, you remember seeing that? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm a little bit familiar with what you're talking about.
So because you're familiar with it, if you could just briefly, because it kind of hit home even for myself, and if you could just share what you said in that or what that post
Yeah.
basically broke down about the 5 things, I think that is so key right now with
It
what we're
was
talking about.
it was 6 things,
I'm sorry,
and
6.
it was always being on social media, uh,
Things
living
to
up.
stop doing, guys.
Yeah,
Number one,
always on social media. If you waking up and you checking your phone before you go to pee, you probably got a problem. Uh, Living in the past, a lot of us do that. We live in our head. We want things to be the way they were instead of the way that they are. We have to get out of that mindset of kind of living what was. Um, Staying around negativity. I say if people are not giving you, I just had this conversation with my father. Um, if people not, everybody is not worthy of your time. Everybody is not worthy of your conversation. Everybody is not worthy of having an opportunity to be around you. So, and I think that a lot of times we have to limit, who we let around us in our space, who we conversate with, and what people bring, into our lives. So it's important, I think, to keep that space pure and to keep people around you that bring positivity into your life, that bring joy into your life, bring you some kind of happiness, bring you something of value that I think that people need to be bringing to you when you're dealing with them. Whether it's physical or whether it's on the phone or however you're dealing with people or dealing with people online. Staying away from negativity is huge for me, because I need to be uplifted a lot. Sometimes I may not always be in the greatest mood, and we need love. We need that positive energy around us, and having the wrong people around you can really put you in some bad places and in some bad situations. It could cost you money, it could cost you your life, or it could cost you your freedom. So I think that's really, really key as far as the positive aspect of having people around you and who you talk to and who is in your space. I think that's really, really important. Overthinking. A lot of times we overthink. That's the fourth thing.
absolutely.
Um, we can overplay a situation in our mind that hasn't even happened yet, or we could overthink many things of what's to come. I think that uh, that's something that we have to be critical of letting our thoughts kind of take us places of where we don't need to be. Because you can make up especially if you're in a relationship, you could make up a scenario in your head that'll take you somewhere and have you in your feelings and your body reacting to it emotionally because of where your mind went. And it may not even be the case. So that's something to be careful of. One is constantly unhealthy eating. I can say I recently did this uh, probably last 2 weeks ago. I
Okay.
was eating a bunch of fast food and I started feeling myself getting sick from it. Like the acidic levels in my body was getting high. And I could just feel like I'd never really ever have acid reflux. And I was like starting to get it. And, I was, just from what I was taking in. So I had to correct that. And last thing is staying up late, which is something I'm always guilty of, is not getting enough sleep. Which is, a couple weeks ago we didn't do the podcast because I was up late and I wasn't feeling well because I had been out working more than I should have been working, and it not resting and treating yourself right takes a toll on you mentally and physically and emotionally. So that's the sixth thing, which is important. Like I had a little drink last night, but I went to bed at a decent hour and I got a decent amount of sleep last night. So I was conscious of what I was doing and making sure that I get the rest that I need, because I'm extremely guilty of not taking care of myself and not getting my proper rest. So when I saw it, it was just something that I wanted to share with everybody, because those things, I think we all at one point or another, we kind of go through those six things and we might overindulge a little bit, and it was just for me to share and just try to if you in one of those spaces, just kind of put it in check and adjust it to some levels that's acceptable for you in your life.
Well, the reason I brought it up, thank you so much for that. But the reason I actually brought it up was exactly to talk about, nail home what we're talking about right now, because we know election time brings on a great deal of stress.
Hmm.
People are going through a lot of stress right now. I know this is a time of year where people get into personal disagreements with friends and family. This is the time of year where you find out that your friend who you've been, kicking it with the last 2 or 3 years, you find out how strongly they feel about uh, the current election, the right or the left side. And even I've seen people say, you know what, we're not even friends no more, i.e., for example, on Facebook,
Oh yeah, I've
I'm deleting this person. I'm dropping that.
I've
So my
seen
point,
people clearing their list out.
right. So my point in this is, if we think about how we came to interact with different people and how we deal with them, do we really need to have such a big cancel culture? That's the word that's being used now on
Hmm.
social media. But my point is, when we think about those six things that you said to look to change, I would tell people like to wait until January 1st to do something.
Right.
This one here, I'm pulling the fire alarm here on this one and saying this is something you need to think about making an immediate change. This doesn't need to wait until next month. This doesn't most definitely don't need to wait until January 1st.
Hmm.
These are things that are going to help you mentally, especially with the times that we're going through, the challenge. Just real quick, talking about eating healthy, and that's also include, we talk about eating healthy to help your body, but also to uh, the working out and staying fit.
Right.
Trying to be healthy so you can be here, so that in the event that you do get this virus, maybe you're in a little bit better position where you can overcome it, because thousands of people are overcoming it, and we don't want to forget about those people.
Right.
So those type of things can help you. But
Right.
man, right now with the way things are, and I talked about this back after we had been in this pandemic, probably about 45, close to 60. So after about a couple of months, when people really was going through it,
Hmm.
the reality was really setting in that this is not something that's going to be over as soon as we may have thought. I think now there is no doubt that people feel like we may not be done with this in 2021. I mean, 2020, it may be 2021. But
Hmm.
staying on topic, that's so key, the help that you take on. And then the overthinking, thinking about things that some of these things that you're beating yourself and you can't sleep at night, you don't have no control over that. That would almost be like beating yourself over when the first time it's gonna snow, or is it gonna snow on Christmas?
Hey.
Why are you worried about that? You can't change it.
Hmm.
Social media, even though we're on a social media platform and you all are watching us on here, you said something at the beginning of that when you started talking about it. People are literally, hell, I like to say, you don't even know if your damn legs work and you already check social media. You don't know. You holding your bladder about the bus because not only do you got to check your IG, you got to also check your Facebook. You got to see how many people like the stuff that you posted the night before. You know, we talk about it jokingly, but these things are changing your thought process. And when we talk about the physicality of it, let's be real. If you're sitting up on that device to the point where your neck is bothering you, or your fingers are, as you know, maybe it's for us older people, you know, you're starting to have device aches. Your neck's bothering you from looking
Right.
down. You might not even notice it. You know, your vision is starting to go because you're constantly squinting, looking at this small print on the screen. Folks, put these damn devices down. Start challenging yourself. And I know it's not realistic that you can just go cold turkey tonight because you would hang up on us. We don't want you to do that. But
Right.
challenge yourself. You know what? Set parameters the same way you would do your kids. I do it all the time. I say, you know what? I'm on social media. I'm not going to look at it again for the next 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I might not be able to not look at my phone due to text messages or alerts and things of that nature, but I most definitely don't have to go on social media. I don't need to go and check social media for the next couple hours, or I even shut it down for the night. You know, I may say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, tonight at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna shut it down. But I've been guilty. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm perfect because I've been up at 1 o'clock in the morning putting stuff on there when I probably should have been trying to get, i.e., one of the other things we talked
We,
about was
we
bed
all are.
alerts.
We all are. And anybody on Facebook know I have a habit of trolling people and getting into political fights at night sometimes when I don't feel like sleeping.
Right. So, you know, it was really some other key things in there. Overthinking, man, that's a huge one right there. We overthink things, and we, you know, we really do it in our personal relationships far too much. We overthinking things, and if what you're thinking, if you those some of the things you're thinking about your partner in your relationship, if it's even remotely close, you know, don't need to be thinking about that no more. You need to be thinking about getting the hell from out of there. If
Right.
you feel like that about your significant other, a
Right.
whole nother topic. What was one of the other ones after you talked about overthinking it? You talked about
Um, so we talked about social media, living in the past.
so that one right there. Um, a great example, even this year. You know, people say, you know, when we go back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
well, we might not make it back to some of those normals. You know, I'm okay if the grocery store say, you know what, there's too many people in here. This gridlock, we gonna slow it down. We gonna, you know, make it a little more realistic. To keep the social distance and these type of things not going anywhere. Talking about what somebody did in the past in your personal life. If you're still holding on to that and can't let go of it, shame on you. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
shame on you for even putting that person through it. Think about it, and you know, we know when we tripping. You
Right.
know, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Everybody heard that before. You know, when you talk about overthinking, man, that's key right there.
Mm-hmm.
Overthinking it. It'll really screw you up. Be a little more confident in yourself. You haven't got to where you at right now without having some sense of being able to do what's right. So continue that on. But those six things, man, those are you hit the nail right on the head, and it's even more important that we look at that right now because we are really letting things affect us and
Right.
getting people scared about things that they really shouldn't be scared about. What you should be worried about right now is continuing to stay safe. You should be getting your health in order. Talk about you mentioned fast food, and when we first started this pandemic and was on the shutdown when everybody was at home because a lot of people are back moving somewhat
Mm-hmm.
close to normal now, but we all could relate and say, hey, you know, I've saved some money not eating out. I've
Yeah.
started learning how to cook at home and being more creative with making meals, all things that we, you know, deem to be a good thing, if nothing else, out of what was going on. Don't
Right.
forget about those things, folks. You know, we made some drastic changes
Hmm.
since March, and let's remember the things out of this when you start reflecting on it. Let's remember what ended up being a positive out of what we consider to be such a huge negative.
Right.
It was tough for people to be able to work out because they were used to going to a gym, and how many ideals and videos popped up where you could work out at home. People was
Mhm.
using, gallons of water bottle gallons and all different techniques and buying bands that they could put over a door opening or whatnot, and just push-ups, sit-ups, all these type of things, jumping rope, things that people had to do because they couldn't do it the other way. Let's not forget about those things, folks. And let's not forget about how we wanted to continue to lift one another. Right now, we're going through the election, and it's kind of like we forgot. Um, and we just not, what, last month, not quite even a month ago, we talked about 9/11, and we talked about how, as a country, we came together and it was one.
Mm.
Because we felt like we were being attacked by somebody that wasn't the United States. It was almost kind of like, I could fight my brother, but you can't.
Right.
Country, we band together and said, you other foreign countries will not fight against my brother. Not today, not gonna happen. So all of these things right now, as we get caught up in this election, and like he said, there's propaganda out there that wants exactly this. If you don't think that there's a goal to keep people down and keep them distracted, shame on you. And we know that the same thing happens in certain communities. That's
Right.
why certain things are allowed.
So we had a gem in the comments I don't want to overlook.
Great.
There's an app called Insight Timer that
Repeat that.
um, Insight Timer is an app for meditation, and it is something that you can do at night if you're just trying to wind down. It's like a guided meditation that you can listen to when at any point during the day. But if you do it in the morning or you do it at night, whatever you choose, it's a nice little something to get you in whatever kind of mood you want to be in. If you want to relax, if you want to de-stress, they got all kinds of different meditations that you can do through Insight Timer. It's a nice little app to have.
That's great. And we need it because too many times you're guilty. You laying up there in the bed, and what you do, you pick up that phone and you're on social media. And you end
Hmm.
up, like I said, that 10 minutes end up turning to an hour and 20 minutes.
Right.
We all been there. I challenge you to stop it. And some of these apps that Dan is mentioning right now are great for meditation. You need to be realistically as an adult. And I know it's easier said than done. Some people have tons of challenges within it. But if you could at a minimum start trying to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night, it'll change your life. And it can be done. Maybe not every night. Like I said, I understand there's people out here working 2 jobs, hell, three, people
Hmm.
going to school, got kids, all of those things. I get it. But if you can add some more rest to it, and I guarantee you, if you cut down on your social media,
Right.
you go a couple hours right there easily. And I'm not just talking to our listeners, I'm talking to myself as well. We can do a better job, especially right now when you, like I said, if you could sit back and assess yourself, those 6 things that we challenge you to stop doing, I guarantee you half of them, if not more than half of them, are things that you know you need to stop doing. And if you don't know, now you know.
Hmm. Yeah, if you concentrate on what you don't want, you will get it.
Man, that's deep. It's simple, but it's deep. Say that one more time.
Yeah, if you concentrate on what you don't want, you will get it.
Right.
So be careful what you think and what you say,
Man,
where you focus your energy to.
that's awesome right there. Man, so great topic. But I want to shift gears a little bit and
All right.
had something on the news this week in Warren. Um,
Hmm.
and I know you've seen it. We talked about it in the meeting.
Right.
We had a triple murder. It ended up the father being murdered and found in Detroit. And then
Hmm.
the next day or a few days later, apologize if I'm off on the time frame. The gentleman who was found dead in his home, they found his girlfriend, which was not his son, who also was found murdered execution style in the basement of the home. That's so. I'm sorry if I'm going back and forth here. So, man found dead in Detroit, murdered.
Hmm.
Do a little research and find out that his girlfriend and his son were found murdered execution style in his home. And that son, I'm sorry, the girlfriend, not the mother of his son. And we saw on local news the outcry from that 6-year-old boy's mom about, how much this hurts her, which I mean, I get choked up even talking about it, just trying to imagine as a parent, as a grandparent, as a cousin, hell, as a friend, hell, as a neighbor, um, for somebody as young as, not that anybody deserved to die like that, but so young.
Hmm.
I just wanted to know what you thought about that and what had you heard.
Um, I Don told me about this today, earlier. We was talking about, what were we gonna talk about today, and we went over, this story, which I haven't looked at TV. I don't know, I wasn't even aware of it until today, and I just, it's always heartbreaking to hear kids being mixed up in adult shit and kids dying because of something some adult did. Um, I know the speculation is that it might be drug related. That's all I know. Um, but it's always heartbreaking to hear, children being wrapped up in these things and people doing it out of for whatever reason. That's kind of cold blooded when you have something like that. And I believe on a video for the news they were talking about trying to somehow get a guy to death penalty, which I'm thinking they may be looking to do federal charges on this. That's all I could think of because we don't have the death penalty in Michigan, so I'm not sure how they gonna pursue that or how that even works when the state doesn't have the penalty itself, and the state, has jurisdiction of where the crime took place.
And to add on to that, I personally heard that they were seeking to get the FBI involved in this case
Mhm.
for some of those reasons, to try to go after the death penalty, because it's just an outrage. And we've got enough what I consider to be senseless murders going on. Right now, we have to be realistic, and I will tell you that this, if it wasn't drug related, I'm sure in some way, shape, or form it was financial. There's a lot of money out here, and I'm gonna just keep it real. There's a lot of money out here in the streets right now because of this COVID, because of the amount of money the government was um, putting out here on the streets to try to get things moving. And you got people out here right now that are trying to move and do things that that's not really what they do. And I'm not saying that the people that do it are right, but you got people who've gotten the opportunity to have large amounts of money through
Yeah,
dealing with our government and getting money. I just call it what it is, scammers.
right.
There's a lot of plays going on out here in these Metro Detroit streets with people who don't normally run in the street. They're supposed to be on the sidewalk. And I'm not saying that to say that's the situation here. I haven't heard a lot of details about this particular case.
They say he was flashing money on Facebook, flashing a lot of money.
Right. So a lot of again, a lot of things why the uptick in the violence and these murders is, I think, again, back to our topic before this, how social media is being used. Right now, when we really look at it, some of the things that we're seeing, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm seeing young people, on social media partying every night of the week. I'm like, damn, number one, where do they work? How are they able to do it? How do they have the strength? I can't imagine being able to be out partying. And when I say every night, I'm exaggerating it. It's
Right.
4 or 5 nights out of the week though.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm sounding like an old man right now, but the amount of money that it takes to do that, we know that it's not something you can do on a budget. I don't
Right.
care how cute you are. You can't go out every night and be partying and drinking without spending money. A lot of money is being spent. People are doing things. Shout out to the ones who are taking advantage of, opportunities to grow businesses and dreams. But we know that's not the only thing that's going on out there. So I think that's my personal opinion on why we're seeing an uptick in the senseless violence. Is because a lot of money is moving around, and I think people are getting involved in things that they typically wouldn't have before, or
Mm-hmm.
at least not at the level that they're trying to do it at now. And like I said, they made sidewalks for a reason because everybody don't need to be in the streets.
Right.
And
Um,
it's
every
unfortunate that that's
everybody don't need to know what's in your lunchbox. It's okay to keep some things to yourself. And when you put it out there, what you got, you can believe that if it's more than people think you should have, or they think it's enough to share, they're gonna come get some of it.
I
So
mean, we seen
you
it
gotta be
with
careful.
a rapper, and I apologize. I know we just had a senseless murder here in Detroit for a local rapper, but it was another rapper who somehow made a mistake and posted where he was actually at on a live video and ended up being murdered hours later. And that's happened more than once here. Just talk about social media and again, just bring home our point.
Mhm.
Uh, People are so quick to want to be on social media showing off the money because I'm seeing, like you said, I'm seeing a lot of money on social media, whether it's directly or indirectly. And
Right.
I just think we need to be smart, folks. And I think that's part of the senseless things that are happening in our community.
I
Uh,
mean, you want to be part of the come up, but you don't want to be a part of the come up like that. Like, don't be the victim because you out here sharing what you got. Keep your stuff to yourself.
I mean, because uh, I don't know how many times here just in the last week in the city of Warren, there have been Warren, Roseville, just this north of Detroit into Macomb County, uptick in violence and shootings. And we talked about on the previous podcast, which to update you guys on that. We talked about the racial profiling on the family in Warren, uh, threw bricks through their front windows, shot at their house, vandalized their vehicles, all because they had a Black Lives Matter sign in front of their house.
Hmm.
An update on that topic, because I think we talked about it briefly. The gentleman was caught. I don't agree with what I'm hearing so as far as his dad's involvement in it helped him get rid of and dismantle and get rid of the firearm. How charges haven't been brought against him, last I heard, is shocking to me. But that gentleman who was doing that to that family in Warren has been arrested. So a good note. But back to my original point is, I think that we just got to really get this message out here to people. Be smart. If you, regardless of how you think you came up on this money, let's be smart out here. And uh, I don't know what to say. I just know that it's
You
really
see people,
frustrating that a 6-year-old
yeah,
has lost his life in that matter.
people saying don't put your personal business on social media. Well, you got to think younger kids, especially if you ain't really never had anything, um, they want to stunt on each other. They want to get likes on social media, and they want to
Excuse me.
look like some of them are. Some of them doing real good. They making a lot of money, and they like to stunt on you and show you what they got, and there's consequences out there for that. it's real live criminals who ain't been able to go out and rob like they want to. So when you kind of present the opportunity, they gonna take it. So don't forget that it's real people out here with real guns who don't care about you flashing your guns or flashing your money because they know you're not gonna use them. It's a lot of people out here, putting guns and shit on the internet, and they not really about that. And we see you, and most criminals they can tell that you ain't really about that. And if they see you with it, they gonna take your money and your guns. So move with caution. So I would caution against doing it at all, but you got to be careful out here because there's an element in the shadows, waiting on opportunities to present themselves. And like I can look at any picture on social media. I've been in this city for a long time, and I can tell what street you on just by what's around you. So you may not have a street posted, but if I see a house or a building and some kind of landmark in those pictures, we can tell where you at. So be careful when you're doing that kind of stuff, and that's why people pulling up and getting down on you. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
Right. And I again talking about the situation with the execution style murder of that
Yeah,
6-year-old boy. Our condolences go out to the family. Can't imagine what that's like. Um,
yeah. They was trying to raise 10,000 for the funeral. I think they up to 25,000 now. They got a GoFundMe page going.
right.
Um, so they got that taken care of. So
Right.
they'll be able to provide them a proper burial.
Right. But again, our condolences go out to the family and people. Let's be smart. It's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of money out here. Be smart, And I'm not saying that everybody that has a lot of money right now is a scammer. So when I made that statement before, let me clarify. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of money flowing right now in the city for numerous reasons. Uh, and with that being said, I think that's part of the uptick. I think, like you said, people want to, as we used to say back in my day, they want to stunt and floss and whatnot on people. Let's be smart. Everybody don't have your best interest. And even these women out here, continue to be safe. We know that there's trafficking and our black women coming up missing. Be smart on what you're doing and where you're doing it at. I know people got all kind of hustles out here, but let's be smart. People don't need to know where you at. You don't need to be, letting everybody know where your parents live. Anybody out here from the streets know that, you keep your family and your business separate. There's no reason for everybody to know who your family is out in these streets, all of those things. But I'm not here to educate you on how to be a street thug. That's not our goal.
Right.
I just want people to be smart because 6-year-old, I'm just furious that I can't think of anything other than, in my opinion, that the person who did that knew that 6-year-old, and that's why that 6-year-old had to, you know, be executed like that. And when those people are caught, and I hope they're caught, we got local rapper, influencer, Trick has personally put out a reward for any information leading to the arrest. And we know how Trick get down, and no slate to him. I don't need you looking for me, man. Peace. We know how he move in the
Right.
city. Hopefully, he can get some answers and help lead to a arrest in this situation, because this we can't allow this.
Right.
We talk about getting together as a community. As a community, we have to draw the line in the sand here. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all, man.
Not at all.
Just very, very frustrating. But man, so many things going on right now. It's like I said earlier, it's like we watching a movie, and I don't know what the outcome is going to be, and I'm a little bit nervous about it.
Right.
But the things that you can change, we will continue to change. And that's how everybody's got to look at this. At a minimum, change what you can change. And if nothing else, if you can't look at all six of those things we said you need to change, start off with one or two of them. You know, eating a little bit healthier, getting that rest you need, taking care of yourself, stop overthinking things, and get a social media a break, especially if you're not utilizing and when we say social media, we're talking about the places where usually don't have no benefit to you in your day to day when you really stop and think about it. Yes, it's entertaining, and I'm not saying you don't deserve some entertainment. I know I post some funny stuff on Instagram. I'll keep you entertained, but
Right.
I'm not gonna be on there all day
Right.
giving you information, and the damn sure not gonna be on there all night. So I'm saying, use the internet to educate yourself. Dan, when he was on his soapbox, he was very passionate about not believing the hype and not falling for some of these things that people have put in front of you for a reason. You know, they're
Mm-hmm.
putting these statements out and they're making these catchphrases just to keep you unfocused and keep you uneducated on what's really going on. Hit really hit home with that. That's some great information right there.
Right.
You
So
got
aside
anything?
from that, it was a couple other things in the news that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
What's that? Let's talk about it.
17-year-old arrested in fatal shooting at Pontiac's Erebus haunted house. I don't know if you heard about this one.
Yeah, I did.
They got into it because the guy thought that they had cut in front of him in line. That turned into an argument that turned into a shooting at a haunted house. Um, the 17-year-old, like I said, has been arrested, but man, we can't get into these kind of arguments and scuffles with each other over these kinds of things, and it turned deadly. I mean, it's just too much. It's too much, and there's way too much going on for us to be getting into this kind of shit, and people dying over a spot in a line at a haunted house. I know people dealing with a lot, and this is all the way not worth it. So,
I mean, because you not only you had a loss of life for the person who was murdered in this senseless crime, but you also got the person who did it. 17
mm,
years old. First of all, he's going to be tried as an adult. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I'm going to assume that he won't get represented in court when he has his day in court. He won't be represented by the best of lawyers. Not that he deserves anything that other than what he should get here. I won't get into the topic of our
mm,
judicial system, but this person deserves to be treated as an adult. They deserve to spend the appropriate amount of time behind bars for this, based off of our state laws. I'm sure the family doesn't feel that way, and I understand that. And again, my comments do not come across to offend anybody, but just to say that we have got to do a better job because multiple families are being affected by this. The people who lost their loved one and the family of this young man who I'm sure this is not the goals they have for him as he becomes an adult. Because right now, technically, at 17, you're still a child and your life is going to be changed forever based off of that decision you made. I guarantee you, while he's sitting there in that cell, running that back and forth through his head, because to me it sounded like they felt like they were being
mm-hmm.
disrespected because you cut in front of me, and now you affected your life forever and a whole nother family's life. Again,
Walk away. I can't say that enough. A lot of times, and it's just a spot in line. You don't have to be tough all the time. You know, keeping it real can go wrong. So, you know, walk away from the
Man,
situation. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times it's not worth it. You know, even if you got a gun on you and you know you can, you know,
everybody got guns now,
you
man.
know, the situation, just chill. If they want to be in front of you that bad, let them. It ain't even that big a deal. It wasn't even cold outside last
Exactly.
week, so I don't know. It wasn't that cold. So
No, it wasn't cold. And usually, and it's so frustrating because usually those type of events, everybody is kind of hyped up,
yeah,
excited. People who go to haunted houses. I've been to a few. That's not my thing.
man.
But I've been, and usually the crowds when I've been, yes, they're long lines, but people are typically happy.
Hmm.
People out there having a good time. But we know that, and I'm gonna get deep here for just a second, and we're gonna
Right.
wrap up here soon, folks. I appreciate you hanging in there with us. I know it's late and it's Sunday night, or you can watch it later on. But I really think that, you know, as a society right now, we're so on edge about every little thing. And like you said, smile a little bit more. It's okay to
Right.
smile. This is not the Wild West anymore. It's okay to be in a good mood. I was at a restaurant picking up some food, and there was another gentleman in there, and he was in a great mood. So everybody that was with him in that restaurant was in a great mood, and I was just in there getting a takeout order, and they had given me my beverage already, and he walked over to me and was like, "Man, that looked good. That looked amazing. I think I'm gonna order that." And I wasn't in a bad mood, but I wasn't in a good mood. And after that guy said that, and I just seen how happy he was, because basically it looked like his friends and family were meeting him there.
Yeah.
And it was a small restaurant; it wasn't a big establishment, and it was midday; it wasn't empty. But he was in such a good mood for whatever reason. I don't know if they were
Contagious.
celebrating something or they just was happy to be having a late lunch at this restaurant. But it was infection,
Hmm.
I'm not using the wrong word. It was contagious.
Yeah.
There was nobody around that guy that was sad or
Hmm.
couldn't be a little happier than they were before they seen him. And he was just eating lunch. Like I said, a few people was meeting him there. It was probably with the kids. It was probably only 6 or 7 of them there in the restaurant. And we have to stop being so aggravated all the time. And I'm gonna go back to this again. I think that we let social media get us into this funk sometime. When we don't take care of ourselves health wise, we get in this funk sometime.
Hmm.
Um, when we overthink situations, we get in this funk because we know a few months back they were saying that that murder that happened at that Coney Island on the west side of Detroit, Joy Road and Dexter. They
Hmm.
were saying that it was because of something that was said, and of course we found out later, digging into it with our ears to the street, that there was more to it. But how many times have we had situations where a group of guys has said something disrespectful, and next thing you know, it's turned into violence? We have to do it better. Number one, yes, we need to be more respectful, but we need to also uh, be smart at figuring out how to get ourselves out of these negative situations. I, I really think we need to do that. But it's easier to smile than
Hmm.
it is to frown.
Right.
It's a lot to be thankful for, and every now and then you need to be reminded of it. I'm out in traffic complaining because it's traffic and I can't get to where I want to get to in the amount of time I feel it should take while I'm riding in my air conditioned newer vehicle.
Right.
Sometimes I have to stop and check myself and look over and say, damn, that person at that bus stop,
Hmm.
they'll look at me and be like, nigga, you ain't got nothing to be
Right.
complaining about. You
Right.
tripping.
Hmm.
And then for them, the person who is at home sick, can't even get out, is like, hey, you lucky you can even get out. And I could keep backing it up and making it
Right,
make more sense, but you get
right,
my point.
right.
So those 6 rules, man, those 6 rules are things that hey, if you believe in anything, you need to believe in figuring out how you can incorporate those 6 things to stop doing um, ASAP. And real quick, for if you can go over those one more time, just the topics. We don't have to go into the details of them, but the 6 things
Right.
you need to stop doing now.
Um, so that was always on social media, living in the past, staying around negativity, regularly overthinking, constantly unhealthy eating, and staying up late.
Man, that's it right there, folks. That's
Right.
it in a nutshell.
Yeah,
It don't get no better
man.
than that.
So I would say this, since we named this the fourth quarter, I just want to go down this road real quick.
Okay.
When the pandemic started, we wanted to, we had a lot of time on our hands and we wanted to learn, different things. People were doing different things, building and whatnot. We got 90 days to go for the rest of the year, pretty much.
Right.
Um, I know it's, election season and all that, but we should figure out, what we want to accomplish moving into the new year right now. Like we should figure out how we want this last quarter to go right now. Because a lot of the things that you experiencing and you living from today got a lot to do with the decisions you made 60 and 90 days ago. So I think we all need to make sure we keep that in mind, that the things that we do today will affect us later. So I think we should start preparing to make sure that we ready, just over the course of the next 90 days, just start honing in and focusing on some things. I know for me personally, during this pandemic, I said that I was going to learn how to invest my money, and that that was just one thing that I was going to do. I was going to not blindly put my money into the market and invest in stuff and not really know what I was doing. And I think that I've managed to succeed in that.
Awesome.
I've been doing a pretty good job. I'm sitting at still 30% up on my money that I managed to put into the market, in the one particular account that I started to monitor. But even up 30%, I can tell you that that's really not good. Like it sound good, but I could do so much better with what I know now. So I would just challenge everybody to figure out something that you want to do, some things that you might want to accomplish as we move forward through the holiday. Things are coming up. If you're buying gifts this year, or we still don't know how Thanksgiving and things like that gonna go for pandemic reasons, but if you're gonna do things this year, start making those plans now. You always want to be ahead of schedule, I would say. So with the last quarter coming up, I would just challenge everybody to, kind of figure out where you want to go and what you want to do. Don't just get behind the wheel with destination. Guide your life and where you want it to be. So that would be my take on moving forward.
Awesome. And that's some great, great. Thank you for that feedback and sharing your some of your goals. Whatever they may be, big or small, you got to start somewhere. In order to eat a elephant, you got to start biting it. Uh, no, that sounds crazy. Who would eat an elephant,
Mhm.
right? But you get my point. You're not gonna eat it all in one bite. You're gonna have to take bites of it. Listen, folks, we say this every week. Our goal is to educate, enlighten, and hopefully, brighten up your Sunday evening a little bit with what we talk about. Um, and that right there is deep. Dan brought a lot of nuggets out today for you. This podcast is available on quite a few of our platforms. Dan will go over those in a minute. But
Mhm.
just continue to be always looking forward. smiling along that path as much as possible. I know it's easier said than done right now with what a lot of people are going through. But just think about that analogy I use when I'm driving and I'm complaining about being in traffic. Um, with my music of choice and my air conditioning or my heat on or whatever in the vehicle, and I'm happy. I should be happy about that. I have to remind myself that when I'm in traffic and I'm frustrated because somebody cut me off or because you made me miss that light. I have to go back and remind myself. There's tons of similar stories that go on every day in your life. So be thankful for what you do have is the point I'm trying to make. But whatever it is, hell, if it's you got a roof over your head, you got food in your refrigerator, you might not have the cable you want, or you might not have the vehicle you want, or the house you want, but you got something. You got your life and you got your well-being. Uh, if you're utilizing any of the things we talked about today, you most definitely on a better path going into the next quarter. So those things we talk about, hey, we struggle with them too. Don't think that we're just on some soapbox telling you to do something that we don't do. We're
Right.
telling you from our experiences. And please understand that we have your best interests at heart always. And then let the people know one last time how they can get in touch with us.
They can reach us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service, or you can give us a call at 800-951-4866. That's 1-800-951-4866. And we will pick up that phone and answer any calls you may have or any emails you may have that you want to send us.
Right.
They laughing at you in the comments talking about elephant ears from the Colonel.
Yeah, maybe that's the elephant I'm talking about, the ones at the corner. Don't try to eat a whole elephant. Hey man, but thanks again for your time. I wanted to end it here at 10 p.m.
Right.
Anybody that hung in there with us through the technical difficulties, we really appreciate that, and continue to like and share. And we'll try to be here every Sunday to give you the same type of love and information. Want everybody to have a safe and wonderful upcoming week. Weather-wise, we're supposed to get back a little nice, so enjoy this last little bit of Indian summer. Get ready for this winter months. Like I said, knowledge is power. Planning is even better. So if you don't make a plan, the plan will make you. So
So
everybody,
I'm gonna shout out EYL University. That's Earn Your Leisure. This is a Black podcast that I watch. I support Black business. I'm actually wearing a merchandise right now, Assets Over Liabilities. These guys provide great info on investing, real estate, and just business overall. If you're interested, follow them on YouTube or you can follow them on Facebook. Good information. And I think if anybody is interested in learning about, just those topics of real estate, business, or finance overall, they have a Market Mondays that come on every week. So you can watch that show on YouTube. It's Earn Your Leisure, and just good information. And I feel like it's my duty to share that with everybody, which is why I'm wearing it today, just to represent for them. And you will benefit just from the free information that you get. Obviously, everybody got a product and things that they sell, and you can do that if you want. But if you just want to get the free information and learn and grow with the community, then Earn Your Leisure.
awesome. Thanks for that. For those of you watching the game, it's only like less than 2 minutes left. Miami is up by 5. Ought to be an interesting finish for those NBA watchers out there.
All right.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a good evening.
I'm gonna have to catch the rest of it if I can.
Yeah.
All right.
Care, everybody. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the upcoming week, and we in the fourth quarter. Get ready.
Absolutely.
All right.